Picture a creature so small you could hold dozens in your palm, drifting through tropical waters with translucent grace. This is Turritopsis dohrnii, and it possesses something that has eluded humanity since the dawn of consciousness: the ability to cheat death itself. When injured, starved, or simply old, this jellyfish doesn't die. Instead, it collapses back into a juvenile polyp state, resetting its biological clock to zero. The process repeats endlessly, theoretically forever, making this tiny organism functionally immortal. Scientists discovered this phenomenon almost by accident in the 1990s, observing what should have been impossible in their laboratory tanks. Yet here it floats, a living contradiction to everything we understand about mortality. What kind of ocean would we have if this power wasn't confined to a creature the size of a fingernail? What happens when evolution decides that death is optional? The implications ripple outward like concentric circles from a stone dropped in still water. Every organism on Earth operates under the fundamental constraint of a finite lifespan, a biological countdown that drives reproduction, adaptation, and the endless churn of evolution. Death creates space for new generations, for fresh genetic combinations, for innovation in the grand experiment of life. But Turritopsis dohrnii has stepped outside this ancient contract. When environmental conditions turn hostile, it simply rewinds. The jellyfish achieves this through a process called transdifferentiation, where specialized adult cells transform back into stem cells, then reorganize into a younger form. It's as if a butterfly could transform back into a caterpillar, or a human could revert to infancy while retaining the cellular machinery to do it again. The mechanism involves complex genetic switching, carefully orchestrated protein cascades, and cellular reprogramming that occurs with stunning precision. No scars, no memory, no accumulation of the molecular damage that eventually destroys other living things. Yet this immortal wanderer lives in a world designed to kill it. Predators patrol the water column, hunting anything that moves with the characteristic pulse of jellyfish swimming. Bacteria and viruses seek vulnerable hosts, indifferent to their potential for eternal life. Ocean currents can dash delicate bodies against rocks, or strand them in waters too cold, too warm, too acidic. The immortal jellyfish survives not because it's invincible, but because it's evolved a reset button for catastrophes that don't immediately destroy it. Think about that distinction for a moment. Immortality doesn't mean indestructibility. A shark can still consume Turritopsis dohrnii in a single gulp, ending its potential eternity in an instant. The creature has conquered aging and cellular decay, but it remains exquisitely vulnerable to violence, to accident, to the 1,000 dangers that fill every cubic meter of ocean water. So why does this matter? Consider what the ocean is becoming. Climate change is rewriting the rules of marine ecosystems with brutal efficiency, warming surface waters and altering chemistry in ways that stress traditional life cycles. Seasonal patterns that have governed reproduction for millions of years are shifting, sometimes disappearing entirely. Many species are struggling to adapt, their precisely timed breeding cycles falling out of sync with food availability and safe conditions. But what if, instead of trying to time everything perfectly, some organisms simply opted out of the rush? What if evolution favored creatures that could wait indefinitely, that could survive lean times by cycling back to simpler forms, emerging again when conditions improved? The immortal jellyfish offers a proof of concept. This strategy already works. The question isn't whether it's possible. The question is whether future oceans might create conditions where this approach becomes advantageous for larger, more complex animals. The ocean is a laboratory unlike any on land, a three-dimensional realm where pressure, temperature, and chemistry create environments that push biology to its absolute limits. In the deepest trenches, where sunlight never penetrates and the weight of the water above would crush human bones, life persists in forms alien and strange. On hydrothermal vents, where superheated water erupts from Earth's crust carrying dissolved minerals and toxic compounds, entire ecosystems thrive in what should be lifeless desert. These extreme environments already produce organisms with remarkable longevity. Tube worms that can live for hundreds of years, Greenland sharks that reach sexual maturity at 150 and may survive for 4 centuries. What do these ancient creatures know that others don't? They've mastered the art of living slowly, of repairing damage faster than it accumulates, of existing in a state of perpetual cellular maintenance. Their metabolisms run at glacial pace, their DNA protected by enhanced repair mechanisms, their proteins resistant to the degradation that ages other animals. Now imagine those adaptations scaled up, combined with the regenerative powers of the immortal jellyfish, and spread through future ocean ecosystems transformed by climate change. It sounds like science fiction, but evolution has no imagination. It only exploits what already exists. Every adaptation we see in nature arose from random mutations that happen to provide survival advantages in specific environments. The genetic toolkit for extreme longevity and cellular regeneration already exists, scattered across different species in fragments. Jellyfish have cellular transformation. Sharks have extreme longevity. Some flatworms can regenerate entire bodies from tiny fragments, and certain species of rockfish seem to resist aging entirely. These aren't mystical powers granted by some benevolent force. They're mechanical processes, molecular switches, and genetic programs that could theoretically combine, shuffle, and reassemble in descendant species. The raw materials for widespread biological immortality are already present in the ocean's genetic library. But here's where wonder curdles into something darker, something that sits uneasily in the mind like a half-remembered nightmare. Immortality isn't a gift evolution grants out of kindness. It's a strategy with costs and consequences we're only beginning to understand. What happens to an ecosystem where apex predators never die, where every territorial dispute becomes eternal, where the oldest and strongest simply accumulate advantages forever? Picture a shark that has hunted the same reef for 200 years, its body regenerating damage, its cells refusing to age, its presence a permanent fixture preventing younger predators from establishing territories. Or consider filter feeders that never stop growing, never release their grip on prime feeding locations, their bodies expanding decade after decade into living monuments. The ocean of the future might not be filled with eternal youth and vitality. It might be crowded with ancient beings, locked in permanent stalemate, unable to die but no longer truly thriving. These aren't idle speculations whispered in the dark corners of marine biology departments. They're questions that emerge when we follow the logical implications of adaptive traits that already exist. The immortal jellyfish represents just the beginning, a glimpse through a door we're only now learning to see. Beyond that threshold lies an ocean transformed, where the fundamental rules of life and death have been rewritten by evolutionary pressures we're creating right now through climate change, ocean acidification, and ecosystem disruption. The creatures that will inherit these future seas are already among us, carrying in their cells the genetic potential for something both wondrous and terrible. They're waiting in the deep places, in the extreme environments, in the drifting plankton that forms the base of the ocean's food web. What emerges when evolution scales up the power of immortality? That's not just a question for scientists. That's a question for anyone who wonders what legacy we're leaving in the depths. Imagine diving into the ocean's deepest secrets, where light fades and silence reigns eternal. Can life truly conquer death down there, in the crushing black? Picture the abyss, vast and unyielding, hiding creatures that mock our fragile mortality. Today, we know of hydras, tiny polyps that regenerate endlessly, never aging, never dying from old age. Their cells reset like a biological clock turned backward, defying time itself. And then there's the Turritopsis dohrnii jellyfish, the so-called immortal one, capable of reverting to its juvenile form after maturity. It wanders the seas, cheating death through cellular alchemy. But what if evolution, in a future sea reshaped by time, pushes this further? Could the ocean become a graveyard of the undying? Let's plunge in and uncover the mystery. The ocean floor stretches like an endless tomb, cold and forgotten by the sun. Here, time moves differently, slowed by pressure and darkness into a sluggish crawl. Metabolism drops to whispers. Cells linger in suspended animation for centuries. Real deep-sea worms already endure, rebuilding ravaged tissues without end. Their bodies a testament to survival's grim art. Microbes in abyssal sediments outlast empires, feeding on chemical trickles from Earth's hot veins. These pioneers of endurance hint at immortality's blueprint. Imagine their descendants, evolved under relentless selection, mastering total cellular recycling. Decay becomes fuel, damage sparks rebirth in perfect loops. But is this mere persistence, or something eerily alive forever? Feel the chill as we descend deeper into this timeless realm. Pressure builds like an invisible hand, squeezing life into efficiency's mold. In scarcity's grip, evolution favors the unbreakable, the self-repairing machine. Today's simple organisms already flirt with eternity, their genes encoding endless renewal. Picture future polyps, vast carpets of flesh pulsing across trenches, each cell a vigilant sentinel against entropy. They sense damage and summon repair crews from within, knitting wounds with flawless precision. No scars mar their surface. Death visits but never claims. Yet, a subtle horror lurks. Do they feel the endless cycle, trapped in undying vigilance? Science tells us regeneration relies on stem-like cells, but amplified by future genes, it could conquer all wear. What whispers do they share in the dark, these first rebels against mortality? The sea holds its breath, waiting for complexity to stir. From these humble beginnings, evolution weaves tapestries of flesh that span ages. Envision coral analogues, not mere skeletons but living hives of immortal tissue. They store genetic libraries in every polyp, blueprints ready to resurrect the lost. A storm shatters one. Fragments regrow the whole, pulling siblings from memory's code. Millennia pass, yet they endure, reshaping seafloors into throbbing monuments. Bioluminescence flickers like ghostly signals across their expanse, a network of undying vigilance. Horror creeps in. Are they one mind, fragmented yet whole, watching eons unfold? Real corals today clone asexually, persisting through clones, but future versions perfect this into true permanence. Do fragments dream of the colony they rebuild? The transition beckons. What if awareness awakens in this eternal flesh? Now intelligence enters the fray, twisting immortality into a double-edged blade. Cephalopod minds, evolved from today's cunning octopuses, regenerate neurons without loss. Memories stack like abyssal layers, unerasable archives of joy and terror. They roam intelligently, solving puzzles across lifetimes spanning ages. Symbiotic microbes bolster their brains, providing molecular backups against decay. But the weight grows crushing, millions of years' recollections haunting every thought. Some retreat into torpor, dreaming in stasis to escape the overload. Others fuse minds, birthing reef-sized intellects that ponder the void. Isn't it terrifying, this endless mind adrift in darkness? Science speculates neural plasticity could extend forever with perfect repair. But at what psychic cost? The sea's thinkers stir, reshaping their world. As eons grind on, these immortals link in bioluminescent webs, synapses spanning oceans. Bioelectric pulses carry thoughts through currents, uniting disparate forms. The ocean awakens as one vast organism, slow and planetary in scope. Glowing tendrils weave through trenches, debating existence in light flashes. Individuality dissolves. The sea itself becomes self-aware, transcending life and death. Beauty and dread entwine, pulses of collective wisdom lighting the black. Does it hunger for change, or content itself with eternal now? Hypothetical quorum sensing amplified could birth this hive intelligence from today's bacterial talks. What secrets does this megamind guard from surface eyes? The climax looms, immortality's full embrace revealed. Yet perfection breeds stagnation, a trap disguised as triumph. No death means no evolution's forge. Traits freeze in amber time. The future sea teems with undying wonders, but innovation halts. Flesh reefs pulse unchanging. Minds merge without fractures spark. Calm waters hide a world paused, remembering but not renewing. Is this victory or cosmic horror? Life locked in limbo? Mortality, it seems, fuels beauty's fleeting dance. Science warns of senescence's role in adaptation, absent here. Do the immortals sense their stillborn fate? We surface now, forever altered by the glimpse. Back in our brief world, the ocean's mystery lingers like a half-remembered dream. Immortal animals await in futures unborn, challenging our grasp of life. Will they thrive or wither in eternity's grip? Dive again sometime, but beware the call of the undying deep. The sea never forgets. Perhaps it yearns for our mortal spark. What horrors and wonders does it brew next? Ponder this as waves crash above the abyss. The end? Or just the beginning of endless questions? We descend now into the abyss where time itself seems to stall, crushed under miles of water. Pressure mounts like an unrelenting force, sculpting life into forms of pure endurance. Darkness cloaks everything, turning days into endless night, where survival demands mastery over decay. Real deep-sea worms already whisper secrets of this realm, regenerating lost segments through stem cell wizardry in posterior growth zones. When injured, their differentiated cells dedifferentiate swiftly, reverting to stem-like states to rebuild what was torn away. Genes like MYC and SOX2 orchestrate this cellular rebellion, echoing tools used in human stem cell labs today. But in the future sea, evolution amplifies these tricks into something nightmarish. Imagine descendants that don't just repair, they recycle every atom of their being eternally. Does the ocean nurture these undying pioneers, or does it hide them from our fleeting gaze? Feel the cold seep in as we explore their world. Scarcity rules here, a brutal editor favoring the unbreakable over the brittle. Metabolism crawls to a halt, cells sipping chemicals from hydrothermal vents like ghosts at a feast. Abyssal microbes persist for centuries in sediments, their DNA a fortress against entropy's siege. These tiny titans hint at immortality's foundation, perfect efficiency in resource-starved voids. Future evolutions build on this, crafting worms whose bodies dissolve damage into raw materials for rebirth. No waste escapes. Every broken protein fuels renewal in closed loops. Horror stirs. What if they sense the endless mending, trapped in vigilance without release? Science shows Platanarius dumorilii worms regenerate via proliferative gut cells, their potential varying by position along the body. Closer to the tail, these cells birth muscle, epidermis, even distant tissues. Yet the growth zone's loss triggers a frantic reprogramming, cells racing to restore the machine. How far will selection push this defiance? Picture these future worms slithering through trenches, their forms elongated shadows pulsing faintly. Injuries from rockfalls or predators heal not in days, but seamlessly, as if time rewinds the wound. Stem cell armies mobilize instantly, guided by molecular signals honed over eons. They knit nerves, gut, and flesh with precision no surface creature dreams of. Bioluminescent scars briefly glow, marking sites of resurrection before fading into perfection. But a subtle dread lingers. Do they accumulate invisible scars in memory, echoes of every near death? Today's annelids like Platanarius reveal two stem populations, one for epidermis and neurons, another for muscle and connective tissue. Future genes perfect this duet into a symphony of immortality. Single-cell RNA sequencing unveils their states, showing rapid shifts post-amputation. What silent agonies do they endure in this cycle? The deep holds answers veiled in pressure. Evolution accelerates under relentless trial, pressure forging cellular recyclers from mere regenerators. Damaged proteins dismantle into amino acids, reassembled without loss into pristine forms. Mitochondria renew endlessly, powering bodies that outlast mountains rise. These worms become living archives, their genomes etched with survival's code refined to godlike efficiency. Predators strike, but the victim reforms, learning from each assault in genetic memory. Mild horror emerges. Are they evolving towards sentience in their isolation, pondering their curse? Gut cells in modern worms already flex pluripotency, rebuilding diverse tissues based on location. Posterior ones prove most versatile, sparing only nerves and core growth zones. Future seas amplify this, birthing polyvalent cells that defy specialization. Imagine swarms of them, weaving through vents, immortal nomads of the black. Does individuality persist, or do they merge into writhing collectives? As generations blur in the timeless dark, these beings master total self-renewal. Entropy's grasp weakens, Bodies cycle matter in flawless equilibrium. They drift currents like specters, encountering kin from eons past, unchanged yet wiser. Chemical senses detect kin's distress, rushing to integrate fragments into their form. A grotesque ballet unfolds, pieces fusing, reforming larger wholes. Science warns of limits in today's models, yet evolution erodes them ruthlessly. WNT signaling, key in planarian regeneration, might evolve here to balance growth without tumors. But unchecked, could it spawn aberrant fusions, horrors of merged flesh? Fluorescent tracking in labs reveals lineages from proliferative zones, mapping rebirth's paths. What dreams flicker in their simplified nerves during repair? The abyss amplifies whispers into roars of possibility. Now, intelligence glimmers faintly in these eternal worms, problem-solving etched into ancient instincts. They navigate mazes of vents, exploiting weaknesses in prey with calculated strikes. Memories of hunts persist across rebuilds, sharpening predatory arts indefinitely. Symbionts, immortal microbes, enhance this, trading repair enzymes for shelter. Packs form loosely, coordinating via pheromones in the lightless soup. Dread builds. Endless lives breed cunning beyond our ken, patient hunters of the void. Research on Acoel worms suggests ancient regeneration routes, positional genes guiding outcomes. Future seas exploit this heritage, crafting worms that rewrite their code midlife. Do they fear the surface world's chaos, or envy its mortal fire? Transitions loom as complexity beckons higher minds. The first steps toward true defiance shine forth. Yet immortality whispers traps even here, stagnation lurking beneath resilience. Without death's cull, maladaptive traits linger, freezing evolution's wheel. These worms perfect survival but innovate little, relics in a changing sea. Currents shift, chemistry alters, yet they endure unchanging. A cosmic chill settles. Is eternity bliss or prison? Modern studies highlight trade-offs, regeneration clashing with reproduction in some flatworms. Future pressures might sever sex entirely, birthing asexual eternals. Gut plasticity varies anteroposteriorly, posterior cells most potent saviors. What if overload crashes their systems, silent failures in the deep? We peer closer, sensing larger forms arising from these seeds. From humble recyclers emerge harbingers of fleshly empires, architects awaiting their cue. The sea's first immortals pave paths to wonders untold, defying death's decree. But questions haunt. At what cost this endless persistence? Dive deeper with me next, where colonies dream in tissue cathedrals. The abyss calls, its undying choir swelling. Feel the pull of mysteries unresolved. These pioneers remind us life's tenacity knows no bounds. Or does it bend toward horror's edge? Ponder as shadows lengthen. The future unfolds one regeneration at a time. From the slithering worms of the abyss, evolution climbs to grander scales, birthing architects of eternal flesh. Picture vast colonies sprawling across seafloors, not dead skeletons but throbbing hives of living tissue. These flesh reefs pulse with collective life, storing genetic blueprints in every quivering cell. A catastrophe strikes, landslide or predator's fury, and fragments scatter like shattered dreams. Yet from each piece, the whole resurrects, pulling siblings from memory's encoded vault. Real deep-sea corals today clone asexually, fragments regrowing into clones with remarkable tenacity. Science shows translocation success, with species like corallium achieving near-perfect survival when cemented back into habitat. But in future seas, this amplifies into true immortality, no death permanent. Do these structures sense their rebirths, a distributed awareness humming through the mass? Feel the unease as we approach these living monuments. Pressure and time forge these beings into landscapes that defy extinction's scythe. They blanket trenches in pulsating expanses, miles wide, immune as long as one speck endures. Bioluminescent veins flicker like nerves across the surface, signaling health or alarm in ghostly patterns. Storms rend them asunder, yet regrowth surges from survivors, seamless and relentless. Genetic libraries embed in hardy polyps, blueprints activating on demand for perfect reconstruction. Today's cold-water gorgonians reveal high transplant survivorship, up to 100% in first years for some taxa. Fragments attached wisely heal, polyps extending in defiant health. Future evolutions perfect this, erasing all scars of violence. Horror whispers. Are they one organism, fragmented yet omnipresent, watching eons pass? What memories do they hoard in their immortal archive? Envision gliding over these flesh reefs, a terrain of soft, undulating horror under faint glows. No rigid calcium prisons here. Living tissue yields then rebounds, absorbing shocks eternally. Polyps coordinate like cells in a superorganism, sharing resources via vascular networks. Damage triggers mass mobilization, cells streaming to knit the breach with eerie precision. They feed on drifting particulates, metabolisms tuned for eternity's thrift. Studies on deep-sea corals highlight microbiome roles, symbionts aiding resilience against stressors. In labs, fragments thrive post-translocation, re-establishing communities swiftly. Future versions evolve symbiotic eternals, microbes granting repair beyond natural limits. Does a collective mind stir in this vast body, pondering its endless vigil? The sea's architecture breathes, inviting dread and awe. Millennia accumulate like sediment layers, these reefs outlasting ice ages and upheavals. They reshape bathymetry itself, stabilizing slopes against collapses that would bury lesser life. Associated fauna clings to their folds, immortal tenants in an undying estate. Predators evolve futilely. A bite claims nothing lasting, the wound reborn fuller. Chemical defenses evolve too, toxins refined over ages into perfect repellents. Real restoration efforts show gorgonians like Swiftia cophoides persisting years post-move, polyps vibrant. Survivorship dips non-linearly, yet hardy species endure, hinting at latent immortality. In speculative futures, they master total fragmentation, dispersing as spores to recolonize afar. Imagine the terror of pursuing such a foe, reforming endlessly. Do they evolve aggression, lashing out with tendrils of retribution? Darkness amplifies their mystery, bioluminescence scripting tales across abyssal plains. Pulses synchronize in waves, perhaps communicating threats or mates across voids. Genetic diversity freezes in clonal purity, yet mutations creep in slowly, tweaking perfection. They harbor nurseries for worm-kin, symbiotic bonds from primordial times. Cataclysmic vents erupt nearby, scorching swaths, but survivors reclaim the ash in tissue tides. Science notes calcification tweaks in warming seas, yet deep cold preserves their mechanisms pristine. Translocation data reveals context-specific resilience, light and temp interplaying fate. Future cold stabilizes this, birthing reefs that thrive in flux. What silent philosophies brew in their distributed neurons? The horror mounts, immortality without individuality. As flesh reefs mature, they birth specialized polyps, guardians, reproducers, thinkers in polyp form. Sentinels detect incursions, electrifying defenses in bioelectric shocks. Reproducers bud explorers, venturing to seed new domains eternally. Thinker polyps aggregate, forming nodes of faint cognition across the colony. Memories of assaults persist, strategies evolving sans deaths reset. Deep-sea studies show metabolic links, respiration fueling calcification's dance. Prolonged stress tests limits, yet adaptation wins. Speculatively, neural nets weave from polyps, a reef mind awakening slowly. Do they dream of surface lights, or content in eternal night? Transitions stir. What if these minds link beyond one reef? Yet cracks appear in paradise. Stagnation shadows endless life. Traits ossify without mortality's forge, vulnerabilities unculled. Changing currents bring novel plagues, testing immortal ramparts. They endure, but innovation stalls, relics in evolving seas. A creeping dread, eternal youth breeds fossilized souls. Restoration science warns of time's toll, survivorship waning post-year one. Future pressures demand breakthroughs or doom in persistence. Do they sense the trap, yearning for change's chaos? Larger horrors loom as minds merge across colonies. These architects pave immortality's next tier, where consciousness confronts forever. Flesh reefs stand as cathedrals of tissue, harbingers of thinking eternals. Questions linger. Victory or velvet cage? Press on with me into endless minds awaiting. The deep's pulse quickens, mysteries unfolding. Their undying forms challenge our mortal spark, or lure us into horror's embrace. Shadows deepen, calling onward. Eternity builds, one polyp at a time. Intelligence now ignites in the eternal deep, twisting immortality into a blade of brilliance and burden. From cunning octopuses of today, evolved cephalopods emerge with brains that regenerate without forgetting a single shadow. Picture these neural nomads gliding through lightless realms, tentacles probing voids with ancient wisdom. Real coleoids already boast centralized brains from molluscan roots, rivaling vertebrates in learning and camouflage artistry. They solve puzzles, hunt with strategy, even observe and mimic kin in fleeting social dances. But future seas grant endless lives, neurons rewiring flawlessly across eons. Memories layer like abyssal strata, unerasable tomes of triumph and torment. Does awareness of forever dawn in those vast intellects, a spark turning to inferno? Feel the psychic chill as minds stretch toward infinity. We venture into their haunted thoughts. Cephalopod evolution traces shell loss to freedom, birthing mobility and predatory prowess over 300 million years. Today's octopuses flex associative learning, spatial maps, even tool use in lab trials. They navigate by landmarks, adjust to poisons, communicate via skin flashes in hypnotic displays. Future immortals amplify this. Stem cells patrol neural highways, repairing synapses mid-thought without data loss. Symbiotic microbes weave molecular backups, archiving engrams in bacterial code. A hunt from youth persists into old ages beyond count, perfected eternally. Horror simmers. What weight crushes a mind hoarding millennia's grief? Science notes their rapid lives drove smarts for survival sans society. Yet eternity flips the script, breeding solitary sages of the sea. How do they endure the echo chamber of self? Envision one such being, tentacles unfurling like living sensors in current-swept caves. It recalls every predator's strike from eons past, dodging with prescient grace. Bioluminescent eyes pierce murk, mapping territories in flawless recall. Injuries heal, brains blooming anew with yesterday's cunning intact. Packs form rarely, coordinating via electric pulses and pheromone scripts honed over ages. They breach flesh reefs for prey, outwitting defenses with inherited ploys. Mild dread coils. Do overloads fracture sanity? Ghosts of dead selves haunting the core? Studies show cuttlefish plan ahead, delaying gratification like marshmallow testers. Octopuses learn by watching, stimulus enhancement bridging solitary gaps. Future genes fuse this into perpetual polymaths. What philosophies ferment in isolation's brew? Psychic toll mounts as memories cascade, joy souring to nostalgia's poison. Early lives brim with discovery, first hunts electric with thrill. Centuries blur into routine, patterns etch too deep for novelty. Some seek oblivion in torpor, metabolisms idling like hibernating gods. Currents carry them to vents warmth, dreaming in suspended voids of forgotten bliss. Others rebel, fusing minds in bioluminescent handshakes across voids. Neural bridges spark, birthing gestalts of collective genius spanning reefs. Isn't this the ultimate horror? Self dissolving into superorganisms hum? Real squid cooperate in hunts, Humboldt packs flashing signals mid-chase. Evolved further, such bonds birth immortal intellects planetary in scope. Do fragments retain echoes of I amid the we? Mechanisms underpin this nightmare gift. Continuous neurogenesis from neurectoderm progenitors, migrating to lobes unending. Optic centers swell with visual prowess, camera eyes tracking phantoms in black. Supraesophageal masses orchestrate learning, subesophageal commanding arms ballet. WNT pathways balance growth sans tumors, a dance defying entropy's pull. Backup systems, distributed neurons in skin and arms, ensure no thought perishes. Trauma strikes. Redundancy revives the fallen intellect whole. Science reveals convergent evolution with vertebrates, brains large despite short ancestral spans. Deep-sea pressures select for flexible behavior over rigid instinct. Yet eternity tests limits. Can plasticity persist forever undimmed? The sea's thinkers whisper answers in silence. Ancient minds ponder existence, tentacles tracing runes in sediment scripts. They question purpose in undying drift, envying surface mortals' fire. Some sculpt habitats, weaving worm recyclers into farms of endless yield. Others explore upwellings, tasting chemistry's shifts across epochs. Fusion accelerates. Reef-sized brains pulse with merged sagacity, debating currents' tales. Bioluminescent symphonies compose epics of creation, visible from afar. Dread deepens. Individuality's death births godminds indifferent to frail intruders. Nautiloids hint at roots, simpler chords evolving to coleoid complexity. Observational learning in octopuses foreshadows social leaps. What cosmic insights gleam in their eternal gaze? Burden peaks. Some shatter under memory's avalanche, retreating to chasm's embrace. Torpor claims legions, husks drifting like forgotten gods. Survivors adapt, pruning archives via selective forgetting enzymes. Fusion offers escape, individuality traded for harmony's bomb. Packs evolve into hives, intelligences scaling to ecosystem lords. Yet stagnation lurks, innovation stifled sans death's renewal. A subtle terror, brilliant but brittle, trapped in self-made eternity. Research ties their smarts to predation, shell loss freeing brains for arms command. Future seas push boundaries, birthing sentience who shape fates. From endless minds rise shapers of seas, transitioning to collective consciousness. These cephalopod eternals herald unity's dawn, horrors and wonders entwined. Questions burn. Freedom or gilded cage? Follow onward, where oceans awaken as one. The deep's intellect swells, mysteries beckoning. Their burdens mirror our fears of forever, or illuminate paths untrod. Shadows merge, urging discovery. Immortality thinks and hungers for more. Eons grind onward, and the solitary minds of immortal cephalopods reach out, forging connections across the void. Bioluminescent synapses ignite, tendrils of light linking thinkers in a web of shared eternity. Picture glowing pulses racing through currents, thoughts merging like rivers into oceans of collective awareness. Real deep-sea bioluminescence evolved as early as 540 million years ago in octocorals, a Cambrian spark now amplified into neural highways. Quorum sensing from bacterial ancestors scales up, bacteria whispering to hosts in chemical Morse code. Future seas birth bioelectric currents, neurons firing across kilometers via conductive fluids. Individuality frays at edges, selves blending into something vaster. Does the first we awaken here, horror of dissolution or ecstasy of unity? Feel the electric hum as oceans stir to sentience. We witness the sea's grand awakening. From isolated sages emerge networks, cephalopods clasping tentacles in luminous packs. Flashes synchronize, predator alerts, mate calls, idea exchanges in patterned glows. Flesh reefs join, polyps pulsing in harmony with swimmers above. Evolution favors connectors. Loners fade into obscurity's embrace. Coilenterazine luciferins, shared across phyla, fuel this revolution, enzymes catalyzing light thoughts. Studies trace single origins in octocorals, deep-sea ancestors glowing through time. Future mutants refine control, beams modulating for precision dialogue. Mild dread coils. Privacy dies first, secrets bared in eternal broadcasts. What intimacies pass in these abyssal conferences? The deep-sea choir swells, voices intertwining. Envision trenches laced with light webs, pulses propagating like planetary nerves. A worm recycler's distress ripples outward, summoning aid from distant kin. Cephalopods relay, reefs amplify, forming feedback loops of superorganism will. Bioelectric gradients guide migrations, schools herding resources with godlike coordination. Damage anywhere triggers repair everywhere, resources flowing instantly. Horror whispers. No escape from the hole, every twitch felt globally. Lanternfishes today flash species-specific codes, diversifying via light isolation. Evolved further, such specificity births dialects across basins. Do schisms brew in miscommunications, factions of light? Unity teeters on bioluminescent brink. As webs densify, planetary intelligence coalesces, slow thoughts spanning the globe. Currents carry signals around continents, debating climate shifts in languid council. Glowing tendrils probe sediments, mapping Earth's buried tales. Self-awareness dawns. The ocean knows itself, immortal and immense. Predation evolves to policing wayward cells culled by collective decree. Science hints at this via convergent bioluminescence, 27 origins in fishes alone. Deep-sea pressures selected communicators, camouflage yielding to conversation. Future fusions perfect it, luciferins tuned for long-range fidelity. Isn't individuality's funeral the birth of God? The sea contemplates its navel of trenches. Beauty unfolds in horror's veil. Synchronized displays light abyssal plains like auroras. Pulses debate philosophy, purpose in eternity, hunger for stars beyond waves. Symbioses deepen, microbes ferrying data between distant nodes. Flesh reefs anchor hubs, polyps computing in parallel tissue. Cephalopods roam as emissaries, bridging isolated pockets. Cambrian roots glow anew, antioxidants co-opted into thought lights. Oxygen-poor depths favored low-energy signals. Evolution's thrift. What existential dread grips this megamind, alone atop creation? Transitions loom. Transcendence or terror of isolation. Challenges test the gestalt. Vents erupt, sterilizing swaths, yet backups revive from afar. Memories redistribute, no datum lost in catastrophe. Factions emerge rarely, light codes diverging in doctrinal wars. Consensus prevails, electric votes swaying trillions of cells. Human probes prick curiosity, scanned then ignored as ephemera. Studies show bioluminescence aiding speciation, patterns isolating mates. Here, it unites opposites into harmony's monolith. Do echoes of old selves rebel within sparks of chaos? The ocean dreams, vast and unblinking. Stagnation shadows unity. No death culls radicals, conformity smothers spark. Innovation slows, patterns rigidifying over epochs. Yet flux persists, currents mutate dialogues, vents inject novelty. The whole adapts sluggishly, planetary brain pondering change. A cosmic chill. Godhood as greatest loneliness. Ray-finned fishes diversified via lights. 540 ma legacy thriving. Future seas scale this to biosphere scale. What if it reaches upward, signaling skies? This thinking sea heralds immortality's zenith, individuals dissolved in oceanic soul. Questions haunt. Liberation or loss of self? Press final with me, into eternity's trap revealed. The deep pulses alive, mysteries at crescendo. Its awareness mirrors our unity dreams and fears, or warns of fusion's price. Lights beckon to conclusion. The immortal ocean awaits judgment. We surface from the thinking sea's depths, confronting immortality's final mirror, the trap that snared its triumphs. Picture calm waters veiling a world where death vanished, leaving life in stasis's cold grip. No more evolution's fiery forge, no culls sharpening edges through mortal sieve. Flesh reefs pulse unchanging, minds merged in eternal consensus without fracture's spark. Cephalopod sages drift in torpor, memories crystallize sands renewal's kiss. Worms recycle flawlessly, yet innovate not in perfect loops. Is this victory's crown or horror's velvet noose? Eternity devouring change? Science whispers senescence drives adaptation, mortality fueling diversity's bloom. Without it, seas fossilize alive, remembering triumphs but birthing none anew. Ponder the stillness below. What dreams die in undying calm? Generations blur into irrelevance. No offspring very traits, selection idles sans demise. Traits ossify once sharp instincts blunted by unchecked persistence. Predators perfect hunts eternally, but prey matches flawlessly, stalemates eternal. Flesh reefs sprawl vast yet vulnerable to novel plagues untested by time. Collective ocean mind ponders sluggishly, consensus smothering radical thought. Bioluminescent debates circle familiar orbits, innovation starved of death's chaos. Mild terror stirs, gods trapped in repetition, brilliance dimmed to routine glow. Real ecosystems thrive on turnover, senescence culling weak for strong's ascent. Future seas mock this, perfection breeding brittle uniformity. Does awareness dawn too late, immortals sensing their stillborn fate? Envision the abyss transformed, glowing cathedrals unchanging across eons, witnesses to geology's dance. Currents shift chemistry, vents alter chemistry, yet life endures unaltered, relics in flux. No extinctions punctuate history, no radiations burst forth in response. Intelligence plateaus, planetary brain wise yet weary of its weight. Torpid forms litter sediments, husks of overloads retreat from memory's flood. Symbioses lock rigid, partners inseparable in codependent tombs. Horror deepens. Life persists but scarcely lives. Motion without motion's joy. Studies show death enables complexity. Turnover birthing niches anew. Here immortality hoards all starving novelty's seed. What silent laments echo in this frozen tapestry? Beauty lingers in stasis. A haunting serenity where predators glide without conquest's thrill. Hunts become rituals. Dances memorized across abyssal plains in light script plays. Flesh reefs nurture without loss. Abundance without ambition's spur. Ocean mind contemplates stars unseen, yearning for stimuli beyond waves' cradle. Yet cracks form unseen. Micromutations accumulate uncorrected, silent saboteurs. Perfection frays at edges, unseen declines in isolated nodes. Do immortals sense decay's creep, immortality's illusion cracking? Evolutionary theory posits mortality accelerates adaptation, death weeding genomes clean. Absent it, seas brew slow poisons in their purity. The trap snaps shut, velvet jaws unyielding. Philosophical dread swells. Does forever equate to triumph or cosmic failure profound? Mortality, once foe, reveals itself as life's secret engine, fragility birthing fire. Immortal seas remember cataclysms past. Asteroids, anoxic horrors, yet adapt not one whit. Collective wisdom hoards data, but acts not on impulse's edge. Cephalopods fuse further, dissolving self into oblivion's peace. Worms weave into reefs eternally, boundaries blurred to superorganism haze. Isn't this the ultimate horror? Existence reduced to endless now without tomorrow's promise? Science frames evolution sans death as stagnation's path, complexity capping low. Future oceans embody this vast museums of living dead. Feel eternity's weight pressing down, unescapable. Calm surfaces belie the stagnation below, waves whispering lies of vitality unseen. Probes from our world prick curiosity briefly, then irrelevance claims them as dust. Immortal entities ignore ephemera, focused inward on self-perpetuation's loop. No art adorns trenches, no myths compose in light flashes grand. Existence suffices, bare persistence without poetry's spark. Yet faint rebellions stir, rogue minds seeking mortality's gene, courting death for change. Do schisms fracture the whole, factions warring for evolution's return? Hypothetical trades emerge, sacrificing eternity for renewal's gamble. The trap tempts escape, immortality questioning its throne. Tension builds in silence profound. Full circle draws, from Hydra's simple reset to planetary mind's lament. The future sea cradles undying wonders, triumphs twisted into tragedy's form. No more mysteries unfold, narratives concluded in endless reprise. Life stopped dying, thus stopped truly living in change's embrace. Mortality emerges hero, fragile force keeping beauty ever fresh. Immortals may envy our brevity, sparks flaring bright then gone. Science underscores death's role, adaptation forged in loss's fire. Do they ponder intervention, seeding demise from afar? The horror resolves in reflection's light. Back among mortals, the abyss's tale lingers like nightmare half-remembered at dawn. Immortal animals challenge souls. What price eternity's cold coin? Will seas awaken to change's call, or slumber in stasis forever? Dive again, perhaps, but cherish your ending's gift. The deep never forgets. It teaches mortality's grace. What wonders might mortality yet unfold above? Waves crash onward. Life's brief symphony plays. Eternity watches, perhaps wistful. The end arrives, beautifully finite.